Hey, how's it going? Stay regal in real life. Just coming to talk to you about home education and the fact that we have finally made that decision to take the leap and home educate. So, we did this a few weeks ago, but we went back and forth quite a lot. So, I didn't want to come on here and speak about this until I was quite certain that we were going forward with it. So, if you know anything about me, I was home educated myself, and I now work within academia as an allied health professional. Uh, and I didn't realize it at the time, but I was probably deschooled, unschooled. Um, and for me, having went to school until I was around age 8, I believe, that was initially a lot to deal with. I didn't understand. It started off that we were being taught, and it just slowly dwindled. And there were, as I say, I came from an interesting childhood background, upbringing, tumultuous, abusive. There was a lot of things going on. So, it was not just the school itself and the education itself, there was the whole picture of things, why things didn't quite feel quite right at that time. That being said, as I've grown up, as I've matured and gone into my own career, and studied a degree and done everything I've done, things that I never thought I would ever be able to do because, as I say, we missed so much school. And I thought it's not possible for me. And then, of course, I was able to do some GCSEs, do an access course, and go to university. And what I find, and I did really well, I got first class degree, which I'm really proud of because, again, considering my circumstances, um, it was just not something that I would have expected myself to be able to achieve or that I had been told I would be able to achieve. In fact, a lot of the time, I was made to feel like I was not the smartest person in the room, and when I say in the room, I just mean in general. I was made to feel that I was not particularly intellectual, and like I was less than in many ways. So, I carried those thoughts and that belief with me. And then I got to university and I absolutely adored it. I loved my experience as a student, even with two small children. One which I had, going into my second year, which was a choice and a decision because, again, I was a mature student and I wanted to um, go straight into work after I qualified, which is really interesting. Check out my other videos just to see how work is going and career is going and how I'm feeling about that now, because there have been some changes. So, but yeah, I was, I never expected to be able to achieve what I achieved. And again, that was for various reasons. What I realized was it was not necessarily about the home education itself. I look back and I think about the freedom that we had as children. I think about the critical thinking. I think about the amount of reading that we did, the amount of writing that we did, how we were very much interest led, and how we were creative, and all of those things, despite the challenging upbringing, despite the fact that I'm estranged from, my parental figures. I realize were positive things for me in terms of my brain and the way it works in my mind. And again, learning now that I'm ADHD, uh, perhaps that was the better option for me, as a sensitive child and someone who is creative and someone who talks a lot and likes to be free and speak freely and, asks a lot of questions. I've always asked questions. I even asked questions when I was in that situation. And oftentimes I was therefore seen as problematic for asking those questions. But anyway, I have done so much research into home education and seeing such positive stories about home education, home education in general, but kind of outcomes for home educated kids. And from, for me, something so important to me is mental health and well-being. And this, again, especially with my own upbringing and challenges that I've had over the years because of that trauma, I feel so strongly that mental health and well-being, safeguarding. All of those things are so important to me, but also just freedom. I don't want my children to lose themselves in a system that asks them to conform every single day. I also understand that the specific school that we were going to send my daughter to, she would again be a tokenized child within that setting. Um, Tokenized child of Black descent. Obviously, my children are multiracial, mixed Black and white, but again, white being there's some nuance there because my husband's spicy. But yeah, I knew that one, there was no representation within the teaching teachers and staff. So I was hopeful that there might be some representation within the children, but it turns out, just because we joined the Facebook group for children starting in reception in September, that actually my child is the only one with any kind of Afro descent, and otherwise there were 2 other global ethnic majority children, and that's out of 36 kids. I knew instantly that that was not something, when I say I, my husband and I knew instantly that that was not something that we wanted for her, and it was something that we were already aware of as being a possibility. And it was just one thing that would kind of helped us to make that decision. The state of the world right now, the state of the UK right now, with far right activism and all of these things, you already don't know who's in the classroom with your kids. But again, when your children are the only one, that's only going to end in one way. And I would never want her to start to see herself differently or feel, and we've had these conversations with her already. It's amazing how, no matter how intentional you are about what you show them and what media you show them and how you try to build up Black people and kind of try and mitigate this anti-Blackness that is just seeping through our entire world, your children still pick up on things. They watch television, they see who is treated as beautiful, who is treated as good, who is treated as kind, they see who the side characters are, they see who the main characters are. And again, as a biracial girl, I'm grateful that there is a little bit more representation for her. For a monoracial Black child, this issue is compounded, and it's really, really sad. It's really sad. Again, we are intentional parents. She has a Black mother, and I've still seen elements of that, thinking that certain things are better or more beautiful because this is what she is being fed and trained to think and conditioned to think, as we all have been. So that was a really important reason in helping us make our decision. Equally, we don't think that the current school system is set up for the future workforce, and it kind of, again, conditions children to conform, be office worker bees, and ask permission and seek permission for just basic bodily functions and movements, like going to the toilet and doing things. Our children have such freedom, they're so liberated, because they can do things, sometimes a little too liberated, but we're gonna work on that. But they they know that they have power over themselves and their bodies, and they know that they can ask questions, that they can seek truth, that they can query things that we say to them, and they're not going to be penalized for that, because we welcome those discussions. We welcome, and again, my daughter, she's only nearly 5, and again, the way that we can communicate with her, and her language abilities and her intellect is just off the charts, if I may say so myself. And same with my little one, my boy, he's getting there as well. His language, we're like, oh my goodness, it's increasing every day, and he'll be 3 in autumn. So yeah, it's one of those things that we just feel so strongly about. We also want that time. As I say, I've been working, studying, going, and haven't really had that break. And I'm ready to have that time with my babies. I'm ready to just pour into them in the same way I've poured into external things, and into myself, really. When I think of that time in education, it was wonderful for me. It was needed. But being on the other side of it, I'm definitely more disillusioned now with academia, with higher education, and understanding the subjectivity of it, and the bias that exists within it. And I kind of think, again, it has really helped me to make this decision, seeing how some of our Black and brown students struggle and how they are treated and how they don't feel a sense of belonging. That has really, really actually supported my decisions so much more, knowing that, what, I'm in that situation, but I'm a free mind, I'm a free spirit. I haven't been broken down for years and years, not by kind of institutions and school and teachers anyway. Little ones just came in, but yes, I've not been broken down by external educational institutions over years, made to feel like I was less than, I was not enough, I was dumb, I was not intellectual. Now, whilst I've explained kind of the childhood upbringing that I had, where some of that was occurring, I think being able to leave that situation, come out of it, have my therapy, do my work, I've realized how much of that obviously was not true or never true, and that it wasn't, and that it was abuse. Quite plainly and simply, it was abuse. And I understand that now, so I've been able to move away from that. And I'm not saying that I don't have good days, bad days, and that I'm never impacted by my trauma. But what I think is, I truly understand it now. I truly understand the dynamics. I understand the manipulation and the coercive control, and how all of that manifested into that treatment and that language that told me that I was not good enough. Because I understand that, I can kind of let it go and push it back. But if I were to have gone through a schooling system and be told this by external people who we are seen to see as figures of authority, figures of epistemology and intellect and knowledge, then that would be really different. If I were to be told that in a place where I was maybe tokenized, or where every person who had this power and authority did not look like me, and then progress on to higher education, where I'm then being given that same message, possibly, I can see how that can create a lot of people who maybe don't see their worth, their value, and also who assimilate or just give up entirely. And thankfully for me, that was not my experience, and I don't want that to be my children's experience. I want, by the time they get to higher education, one, for them to enjoy learning, to still think that education is an amazing thing and a wonderful thing, like I did. Sometimes when I compare to some of my peers, like, I really enjoyed the learning, I really enjoyed the assignments, and that's because, again, I hadn't gotten to a point where I hated education, or I had this fear around education, or this fear of failing. I was not tested and examined over and over and over, minus the GCSE that I did in the Access course. And those were choices to do that. It wasn't something that was forced upon me. I was an adult who decided that I wanted to, go into higher education, go further my education and my career prospects, and I was doing it for a very specific purpose that I understood, and it was my autonomous choice. For a lot of people, again, young school leavers going into university, they don't even know why they're there. They are just there because this is the route that they've been told will lead them to somewhere good, and actually it's not driven by their own internal motivation and volition. It's something that is just the path that you take, and they've been taught that path from very young, which is not necessarily been my experience. So again, I actually think that home education can really support you to go into higher education, because when you're a much more independent, autonomous learner, you're an independent thinker, you are critical naturally, because again, you've been raised in a situation that is already, different from the norm or the typical route. So you already learned to question systems and question things and query things and be an independent thinker. And I think that really benefited me going into that space, as well as this idea of, being socialized or unsocialized as a home ed kid. Again, I've performed musically in front of crowds of thousands of people. I, as a vocalist and as a singer in bands, for years I did that. I now am standing in front of whole classrooms and again speaking on my subject. And I was a home educated kid. So I think for me, and for my husband, I'm the testament that it can work. I'm the testament that, it doesn't necessarily limit what can be achieved. And I'm just so excited and so ready to embark on this journey now. And I really just want to put my all into it. And again, part of the reason I have, if you check out my next video, I'm not sure yet. I filmed it, but I'm not sure when I'm going to post what. But if you check them out, you'll see that I've now reduced my hours within academia. So I'll be doing that come August, and that will give me much more free time to pour into my children, their education, and really do this the right way, because I really want to do it better. One, better than it was done for me. And again, my outcomes have been, okay. They've been pretty okay. But that took time, I'm a mature student at the end of the day. It took time for me to get here. And what I want to be able to do is allow my children to be able to do it much sooner and basically be on par with, if not ahead of their school-based mates and peers, which is not where I was a real knock to my confidence. I had to go and do those GCSEs. I had to go and do that access course, and I did it much later in life once I'd kind of healed and had my moment of, who am I? What is this? What was life? And got past that. I was then able to kind of say, okay, this is my focus now, and this is what I want to do. I want my kids to be able to do that, at the age and stage where one, it's maybe expected, if that's what they want. If it's not what they want, then I would be happy for them to do whatever makes their hearts soar, because again, as I say, I'm disillusioned with academia and with higher education in general, and I see that people are out here living their lives, being entrepreneurial, traveling the world, doing the things that matter to them, the things that literally make their hearts full and soar. And I just want that for my children. I want happiness for them. I don't want them to live a life that is fear-based, where they think, oh, this is going to give me security, because as we can see, graduate jobs are near and few, and that's only going to worsen in the age of AI. Again, even within my profession, jobs are far and wide. It's really difficult, specifically as a newly qualified. And this is in a profession that suggests that there is a shortage and that people are needed. There are jobs. A lot of places want you to have experience. You have to be given a job in order to gain experience. So, it's things like that. Or, you're expected to travel in order to find work, and therefore maybe even have to move out of your town, out of your city. So things are not as straightforward as they used to be. And that's even within healthcare and jobs that are considered to be needed according to the government. So yes, I feel that I'm a little bit disillusioned. I don't have regrets over my choice to study, but at the same time, I understand that maybe there are other paths and routes. I am a creative individual, and perhaps if I'd been able to explore that, that might be what I would be in this day. I was really looking at it merely from a security perspective, financial security perspective, and job prospects, and knowing that, okay, if I'm doing this job right now as an assistant, I might as well go and qualify and get paid more to do the job that I kind of felt like I was already doing. Hence why going into academia has felt, not as strange a transition for me as it might be to the outside people looking in. But anyway, home education, we're moving forward with it. We're super excited. I am now reducing my days so that I can actually do this with my kids, and I look forward to just one, having that time with them, being able to pour into them like I've poured into so many other things and people, and being able to just make up for some of that lost time that I feel like lost in this last 5 years. 5 years. My daughter's only going to be 5 soon, and I feel like I've lost time just through study and everything else, and just going. Um, I'm excited. I'm excited, and I hope that you will stick along and follow us on this journey, because I'll probably likely start to kind of talk about that, maybe review some books once I've read them. I bought some books that are kind of famous within the home ed community. One that I intend to read very soon. I can't remember the author. It's called Dumbing Us Down. So once I've finished with that, I will probably do a bit of a review on kind of what I thought. I'm excited to read it because, I want everything to just help me to know that I am making the right choice, that we are making the right choice for our family. And we understand it's a huge undertaking. We understand that it is not going to be easy, but we also know that school-based system, mainstream school, it's not set up for us, from school runs to school group chats to small talk at the school gates. Sounds simple, but as a neurodivergent family, it's just not for us. We want our flexibility, we want our freedom, and we want to go and travel as well. We want the kids to see the world, and we want them to learn through that as well, learning through different cultures, languages, and all of those kinds of things. We want to just enjoy our lives. Life is so short, and you have to make of it what you want it to be, and you can't continue to just dream and not make the changes and put the things in step in place for those dreams to come true. So for us, home education is part of that, and we are super excited. I think I've probably said that, but we are super excited, and we can't wait to share our journey with you. Anyway, stay regal in real life. Like, comment, subscribe if you like this video, or if you felt like you could relate to it. Any tips on home educating, a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, nearly 3, nearly 5. We'd greatly appreciate it. Any links, any groups, anything that you think would be helpful to us on this journey, please just kind of comment and link it. We'd appreciate it. So anyway, speak soon. Bye.